Hello, friends. Welcome to the Best Mom Ever Parenting Teens podcast, your place to get the tools and strategies you need to have a close and trusting relationship with your kids. Thanks for listening. We are glad you're here. So I just want to welcome everyone to the Best Mom Ever podcast this morning. I'm Allison, and I want to share with you Lindsay Law. Lindsay is a mom of 6, 4 of whom are teens or tweens. She's a business owner and adventure junkie. As a certified youth and parent life coach, she helps youth embrace confidence, self-love, to live more abundant lives, avoid perfectionism and self-harm. She also supports parents in creating a home environment that supports their teens' self-love journey. She loves hanging out with her teens, biking, traveling, and learning. With a window into the teenage brain as a mother and coach, she helps promote confidence for all. Welcome, Lindsay. Thank you so much for being here. We're so glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
So today I really want to talk about unconditional love and unconditional acceptance. And when I first brought the topic up to you, you were like, aren't they the same thing? And I'm super excited to pull it apart because I think I totally agree with you. I think it is the same thing in a lot of ways, but I think a lot of times people have a difficult time seeing them as the same thing, or they kind of come across in different ways. And I think that this is kind of key in helping our teens to really understand that they are unconditionally loved. Like when we can't communicate it in the right way, then they feel that they're not loved even when they are.
Right. And that totally makes sense when you say that, because it's like we feel unconditional love for our kids, but they don't necessarily feel it because we're not communicating it through our language and the way we show up to them. We're not always communicating that acceptance of them from that place of unconditional love for them. So it's like closing the gap between what we feel for them and desire for them and what they're actually getting from us, right? So yeah, totally.
Love it. So one of the things that you shared during our last conversation was that the more I love myself, the more I can love others. And I think that most of us agree with this idea. So let's talk about what this looks like in real life. What is the practice for you? How do you love yourself more so that you can love others?
Yeah. And I think really for me, when I've been diving into self-love for years now. And I think where I'm at right now is that self-compassion is one of the biggest components for me when it comes to loving myself. Because it's so easy to love myself when I'm being chill and happy and doing the things I love. It's really easy to love myself in those moments. But where it's really hard to love myself is when I feel like I've screwed up, when my teen is mad at me, when things just aren't going the way I wanted them to. And that's where the self-compassion and self-love is so important, because those are the times where our brain loves to jump in and start telling us we're not enough, telling us we're not a good mom, right? Telling us that our teen hates us. So those are the times where we really have to allow ourselves to have compassion in those hardest, most trying moments. And how that happens is by really allowing ourselves to feel what we're feeling. So it's when my teen, because my teen gets mad at me sometimes. She gets upset. I didn't say things the right way, or she's just in a bad mood for another reason, right? And it's so easy to take that on ourselves and make that mean that, well, there's something wrong with us. And then when we're not loving ourselves, telling ourselves we're not a good mom, we didn't show up the right way, we said the wrong thing, then we continue to show up to our teens in a way that doesn't accept them because we're not accepting ourselves. And so it's allowing yourself to feel sad, allowing yourself to feel disappointed, and then letting that pass so you can get to this place of acceptance for yourself.
Beautiful. So, so good. And then the other thing, of course, that comes up is like, this is not only like us being more present with our teens and being able to authentically love our teens, but also showing them how we want them to treat themselves when bad stuff happens.
Yes, absolutely. And like when I talk about specific ways that we can communicate and express acceptance to our teens, part of the magic there is that it is a model for them of how they can treat themselves. And so not only are we expressing acceptance, but we're literally teaching them how to have self-compassion and acceptance for themselves. So it's really magical.
That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
That's the leadership mom right there.
Yeah.
So I want to also dig into this when we look at accepting our child for who they are compared to loving them unconditionally. I want to ask you some questions about this.
Sure.
I think that most parents know that they would still love their kids, even if they flunked out of school or got arrested or some other sort of catastrophic way that they might be thinking about things that could happen with their kids. But we also have kids out there that are getting straight A's and not feeling connected to their loving parents. So I was going to ask you
Yeah.
how loving unconditionally and unconditional acceptance are different, but it sounds like you feel like they're the exact same thing.
Well, so again, like what I was saying is like we feel like I think as a parent, we feel unconditional love for our kids, but we don't always express that in the way we communicate. So, like these examples you brought up, as parents, we want our kids to be happy. Like I hear that so often. I just want my
Yes,
kid to be happy. But the problem is that desire sets us up for not accepting them when they're not happy.
you're so right.
Yeah. And so it's like we think we're doing this amazing thing by being like, oh, I'm going to just raise this really happy person. And like, I want them to choose this specific thing because I know it will make them happy. And we have just set ourselves up for not accepting our teen exactly where they're at. So you've got this kid who's arrested, you've got this kid getting straight A's. We run into the same problem no matter what. So that kid who is getting straight A's may not feel accepted. One, because when they get stressed, you're saying, oh, don't feel stressed. No, like you've got this. Look, you're a straight A student. You shouldn't feel stressed. And we have just invalidated and not accepted their experience. And we may also really focus on the fact that this kid has straight A's. Like you're meeting the other mom for coffee and you're like, oh, so and so has straight A's, or you're introducing them at a party. Like, this is my daughter. She's like straight A student. And you're like talking about this as this is like how you're defining your child. And that focus on that result is what they hear. They don't hear, hey, I accept and love you no matter what grades you're getting. They hear, because I'm getting straight A's, I'm loved and accepted. And so we think that, oh, like they're doing the right thing, they're happy. So I did it, I did my job.
Hmm.
And what we don't realize is that they can come away from that feeling unaccepted for their feelings and unaccepted for who they are because they feel like it's tied to the results that they create to make you happy, right? And again, with the kid who's in jail, right? We can look at that. Like, I mean, it would be very easy to express unacceptance of that behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be really careful of like, hey, like there are like boundaries we're going to set up for things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's always going to be in acceptance of the person, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they are experiencing. And so letting go of it being about us and about it meaning whether we're a good parent or not, because that's where some of that non acceptance comes from. is when we think what they're doing is either making us feel like a good parent or not making us feel like a good parent. And if we're defining our worth as a parent by their results, we're showing up in non-acceptance.
And that's so much pressure. That's so much pressure on our kids.
Yeah. It's not easy for them.
Why do you think that we've gotten so disconnected when we think about these two things? Do you have any theories on that as to why it's so hard for us to kind of distinguish like accepting who they are versus loving who they are, and why it feels like it's just so difficult for people to see them as at least sisters, if not the same thing?
Yeah, I really think that it goes back to what I was saying about this obsession with happiness. Like,
Mm,
how many books have written about happiness? How many songs are about, like, we kind of just have like this societal focus on being happy. And so, like, as parents, if we don't feel happy or we see that our teens are unhappy, we automatically assume that there's something wrong. And the truth is that nothing's wrong. Nothing needs to be fixed. It only needs to be seen and watched and observed and loved. And here we are trying to fix it and control it. And we're just making it harder for ourselves.
hmm
So that's what I think.
Awesome. Thank you. So, like, in so many ways, all of these other feelings that we get to experience as part of our whole human experience, and these things like sadness, grief, disappointment, they are actually the foil that help us to enjoy happiness when it comes. If our kids are going through this stuff, which of course they will, especially through the growing process and the growing pains of going from like, I'm a little human that does whatever my parents tell me to and introduces my parents at school, like, look at my amazing parents, to like actually realizing that we're flawed humans. Like, this is going to be a painful experience for them at times, but they are whole. Like, them feeling grief and disappointment and showing those things actually shows how whole and complete they are as a human and their human experience.
Yeah. And we should actually be really concerned if our kids are always happy or always saying, oh, yeah, I'm fine. Like, things are great. Like, if you have a kid
Ooh.
who is kind of always expressing like these happy, good feelings, that should send off alarm bells for you that they are actually experiencing fear and discomfort and failure and frustration, but they're just hiding it. They're pushing it down. They're not allowing it to be seen because they don't think it's going to be accepted. They think they're going to be trying to be fixed. They think they're going to be told, oh, don't feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they hide it. And so
Uh,
we need to be really careful that as our kids grow up and as they hit those teen years, that we are accepting all of those emotions that come, right? And it's like, hey, I notice you're feeling angry right now. Or like it seems like you're feeling angry. And maybe they are yelling at you, right? Which is not feeling angry, that's reacting to anger. And so you're able to say, hey, looks like there's something going on for you that's creating some discomfort. I really want to talk to you about it, but right now when you're yelling at me, we can't talk about it in this way. So let's take a break and then come back and talk later. So it's like you are allowed to feel angry. Whatever you're feeling is okay. And sometimes you may show up and you may hit someone, you may yell at someone, and we're going to draw a line. There's going to be a boundary around that. But I am going to show up again and say, hey, tell me what like is going on for you. Like, I know there's something happening for you that you are reacting like that. And just really making it feel very safe for them to express their emotion. Because when we come in anger and like, stop doing that, why are you yelling? As we yell at them, right? Like,
Or
I mean,
not to yell.
that's never going to be helpful. And just allowing them, hey, it's not okay to hit your brother. It's not okay. Like, we don't yell at each other, unless it's a fire. But hey, I want to talk to you about this. I want to know what's going on for you. So let's take a little break and come back.
Yeah, thank you so much. The other thing is when they feel pain, say they went through a breakup or they
Mhm.
worked really hard on something at school and it didn't pan out in terms of the grade, or they didn't understand the assignment or something like that. And they really do, they are feeling that sense of suffering. I think
Yes,
there's also something to just being willing to sit with it and not solve it.
totally. And I think as parents, like, because we have this obsession with happiness, we want to fix it. Like, we want to come in and say, oh, like, I know you, like, it didn't go well this time, but it'll be better next time. And we want to like put a silver lining around it. And there may be a place to do that, but not until you have validated their emotion and made sure that they feel seen and heard. And like when I think of validating an emotion, that's what I like to ask myself. How can I help my teen feel seen and heard right now? Like, what are they feeling? What are they thinking? How do I show them that I'm really interested in what they're experiencing? And I think sometimes as parents, we feel this reluctance to validate because we feel like we're agreeing with them or saying
Mm.
like, we get it. Like, yeah, you're right. And so I think we feel this reluctance to come in and allow it to be there because we feel like we're saying, yeah, this is a good idea to feel this way. But knowing that validation does not mean agreeing, it does not mean understanding. It means I see you and I hear you in this moment, and I'm here to sit with you in this feeling. You don't have to change for me. You don't have to do anything different to make me feel better. You can feel what you're feeling right now.
Oh my
And that is just like, that's the money spot, right?
gosh.
To be able to like have your teen feel that safety to say and feel whatever is coming up for them.
Yeah, I'm just allowing some space for that. That was a good one. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of safety, I think a lot of parents withhold acceptance because, like you kind of touched on before, it feels like they're condoning the actions that are in conflict with their own values, or because they think that their teen's behavior or activity that they're engaging in might be unsafe. How do you help parents walk the line, and how does acceptance create more safety in our relationship with our kids?
Yeah. And I think when what we have to do is we really need to check as parents, what emotion are we coming from? So often when we think, okay, this is unsafe, initially we are coming from a place of fear. So I actually have this fear framework that I walk parents through because there are times, right? Like fear is an emotion that is really important. It signals that something might be off, that something might be wrong, that maybe we need to move or do something to change, right? And so we don't want to ignore fear. We want to allow that fear, but not in a way where it's like, oh, I'm afraid. So therefore, this, whatever my kid's doing is wrong or bad, or they shouldn't do it. No, that's your signal to say, okay, why am I feeling fear right now? Where is this fear coming from? Is this fear for my child's life? Like, is this literally dangerous to them physically? Am I in fear because they might feel a certain emotion, right? We're like, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't invite so and so over because, like, they might say no, and then you're going to feel bad, and then I'll feel bad. So we have to notice, is that fear coming up because we're trying to protect ourselves from an emotion, either for our teen or ourselves? And then as we like notice, okay, like where is this fear actually coming from? Is this a worry about how people are going to see me as a parent if I let my kid do this?
Such a big one.
Am I fearing judgment from other people? Like there's so many reasons why that fear could be coming up for you in a certain situation. And so we really need to check in. Okay, where is this fear coming from? What am I worried about? What is making me feel uneasy about this? And then what I love to do, and actually I can share a specific example in this.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So I have an 18-year-old daughter, and she decided that she wanted to ride her bike 200 kilometers. So I'm in Canada, so we do kilometers, but I don't know how many miles that is. It's less miles than 200. But anyway, a fairly long distance. She couldn't find anyone to go with her. And so she wanted to still go anyway by herself. And she was going to bike to a specific location. It was going to take her 3 days. Okay. And she was going to have to bring all her own food and find places to sleep. And she was carrying a tent. And okay, so I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but there were fears that came up for me in this moment when she came to me and said, "This is what I want to do." And a lot of fears were like, okay, she could get hit by a car. What if someone kidnaps her? What if someone, like I had all of these like really big fears. And then I had to like look at them and be like, okay, yes, it is possible that she could get hit by a car. But like, what is the likelihood of that happening? And am I okay allowing her the opportunity to build her confidence, do something that I felt would be a benefit to her in the long run over like this fear of something might happen, right? And then I'm able to say, hey, yes, biking on the side of the road can be dangerous. What are we going to do to solve for that? She's going to wear reflective gear. She's only going to ride during the day. You know what I mean? Like we're solving for some of those fears. And we can only do that if we get curious and allow that fear to be there instead of just reacting to it. Like, oh, no, that feels scary. No, stop. I'm not doing that. And the thing is, and for me, I had to really check in with my intuition here too. And to me, like I felt this message of like, this is important for her to do because she needs to know that she can trust the world. I knew that was important for my daughter. That if I let my fear override, then I was teaching her that she should fear the world, that it was too scary. She couldn't do these things. And so I just had to step into this trust of, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to solve for the things that seem scary, where it could be a problem, where it could be dangerous. And then I'm just going to trust that I did the best I knew how as a mom and that she's going to do the best she can. And we had safety things in place. Anyway, this girl did it.
All
She
right.
rode her bike all by herself, 200 kilometers to a friend's house. And there were miracles and blessings and strength and hardship that happened along this trip. And she built trust in the world. And it was such an important experience for her. And I'm just so thankful that I was able to check in with my fear and get curious and understand it before just saying no. Like you can't do that. and so I think again, like for someone else, they may have made a different decision and that's okay. Right. And again, if my fear was like, oh, if I let my daughter do this, people are going to think I'm a terrible mom for letting her do this, right? Like that could have been like a fear that came up for me. But I explored, got curious about that fear, and then was able to move forward with trust. And this girl had hardships. I mean, I won't go into those, but she came out of it with so much strength and trust in the world, which is something she needed. And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
So, by sort of working through and allowing yourself to feel the fears that you had as a parent, and we all have for our kids, your daughter was able to have an experience that really helped her to trust herself, to be more competent, and to be potentially more safe in the world moving forward because she's a more powerful and competent individual.
Absolutely. Like she taught herself what she was capable of. So then when that next hard thing comes that looks different, right? Like and I can see it now, like it's a problem at the workplace, right? She's a lifeguard and people there's people doing things that are not ethical. And she stands up for it. She says something because she knows she's capable and powerful of doing good in the world. And it's just like, it's so incredible to see that strength in her because she was able to step into that fear. And like, of course, her brain is also having these fears. And she was able to teach her brain that it's okay to be afraid and do it anyway and trust yourself because there's going to be fear, and that's okay.
That's courage, right?
Yeah.
The world needs more powerful girls.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that as parents, we can do our kids a disservice when we try to protect them too much. Like, oh, well, that'll be scary or that'll be hard or something like you might feel bad. Like, we want our kids to have those experiences. Like, confidence and like self love, like, those are muscles that grow when they're challenged, right? Like, when like those muscle fibers rip apart, like, as they grow and build. Like, we want our kids to experience disappointment. And I think too, like, if they can do that in the safety of our cocoon-ish home, right? When we can be there to like sit with them and be sad with them when they fail an exam, like, that's when we want them to do it. We don't want them to get straight A's all through high school and then get to university and like bomb it. You know what I mean? Like, we want them to learn to fail and have hard things when they're in the safety of our home.
Amazing. This is all such great stuff, Lindsay. I know that our audience is going to want to hear more from you. Do you have anything in particular that you would like to share with our listeners today that they could get in contact with you?
Yeah, for sure. So I have actually a freebie that kind of like outlines. So kind of have like 3 things that our brain kind of goes to default, and then 3 ways that we can communicate acceptance. And it's like just a little poster you can put on your wall to remind you, oh, right, when I'm judging my teen, I can actually get curious. When I'm trying to fix them and make them happy, I can actually just see them and hear them and validate their emotion. And it just reminds you of like what it looks like to communicate acceptance. And yeah, that is there for you guys for free.
Awesome. What a beautiful gift. Well, thanks again, Lindsay. I really love your insights on this and just the whole energy behind what it looks like to validate our teens. And we all have unconditional love for our kids. But when we can show through actual physical practices and the way that we behave that we unconditionally accept our teens, then they understand that they're unconditionally loved.
Yeah. And the thing is like, we create the environment where it's more likely for that to happen. We can't control them. Sometimes they still will struggle to accept themselves. I mean, most definitely they will, because there's other influences in their life. They have a human brain. But if we can create an environment where it's more likely to happen, for one, it puts them in a better place to have that happen, but it also creates connection. Because that's the thing, is when we are accepting them, that's what creates that connection between you in the relationship. When they feel accepted, no matter who they are, what they say, that's when that real connection in the relationship gets solidified. So, super important.
Thanks everyone for listening to the Best Mom Ever podcast. Have a wonderful day and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, no problem. And I do have I was going to give you guys like a parent workshop code too, but
Oh, okay. So Lindsay is going to give you guys a parent workshop code and we can put it in the details about the podcast.
Yeah. Come to a workshop with me and I will give you a code to come for free.
Awesome.
Yay.
Everybody loves free stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello again, friends. Thank you for listening to the Best Mom Ever Parenting Teens podcast. We know how much it hurts to feel separated from our kids, and we want teens to know just how much love and support is available to them so that they can be successful. If you know that you want to parent with courageous inner calm, because it is the best way to create a strong and lasting relationship with our kids and teens, then I have a really special opportunity for you. Pre-registration is free and open now for the 3 keys to restoring trust and connection with your unique teen masterclass series. Master Series. Yes. All right. You are going to discover the proven strategies to get out of struggle and into trust, confidence, and happiness with your teen. You're going to learn how to get the conversation with your teen flowing, discover ways you may be sabotaging your relationship, deepen connection with your teen so that you can feel heard and respected, and open up communication so that you can feel confident that you know what is up with your teen. So we can't wait to see you there. We're really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sign up in the show notes. There is a link. All right. See you there.